Hola, amigas y amigos. Welcome to the MíraLA Podcast. I'm your host, Arianna Lemus. This podcast is by women, for women, and anyone willing to listen to women. Enjoy the show. I am so proud to share that we are shooting our podcast episode at Capture 12 Studio in DTLA. Thank you so much for having the MíraLA Podcast here. Isabel Grace is a woman-owned florist business. Aside from making beautiful bouquets for every occasion, she and her team plan events to help you celebrate all of your family celebrations and milestones. From baby showers, birthdays, graduations, and weddings, Isabel Grace is a proud sponsor of the MíraLA Podcast, providing all of our guests their favorite arrangement of flowers. In this episode, I talked to Sabbyiana. Sabbyiana is a lesbian Latina drag queen. Born and raised in Montebello, California, she is a cisgender woman in the drag scene, navigating PMDD, and she hopes to inspire women to feel powerful in their hyper-femininity. You can catch a show and watch her perform in West Hollywood and Long Beach. Let's welcome Sabbyiana. Alrighty, ladies, we are in the presence of a queen. That's right, a drag queen, and her name is Sabbyiana.
Oh my gosh, hi.
Hey, boo.
So excited to be here, and I'm very, very honored that you guys even wanted me here, so thank you so much.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, when Brenda told me that she met you, I loved your story, and I just think you are such a pioneer in your industry of the drag industry. So before we touch base on like how you became, Sabbyiana and the story behind that, why don't we talk about growing up in Montebello?
Oh my
what was
God.
that like?
Okay, so growing up in Montebello there was like no culture for me. I just was really kind of sheltered because my parents were very, very strict. I was the only daughter. So it was nice. I felt very safe. And I know, unfortunately, a lot of kids these days, at school, don't feel safe because of what's happening in the world. But I will say, back then, I felt really safe at school growing up in Montebello. If I felt weird anywhere else, I was like, at least I have school to go feel safe. And I don't know if that's because of my friends I grew up with or if it's because of the teachers, but I really felt like I had that little safe environment. Or I don't know if it's because of my parents, right? Because they were so strict with me.
Right.
But it was just really small. My family and I, media, it's just my two brothers and I. And I have a stepsister as well. Shout out to Val. But she's not blood related, but I still consider her my sister.
Yeah, of course.
And I just remember just growing up, and it was just very simple. There was nothing really to it.
Not too much trauma.
Yeah, not too much drama.
I said trauma.
Oh, trauma. Oh, okay. Well, trauma is a whole different story. That ends up going, I guess, comes later when I'm realized I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a girl and I'm a brown girl, and I didn't really understand that. I just remembered wanting to be lighter skinned, but I didn't know why. I was just why is how I look super bad or something super negative?
And predominantly in Montebello, is it more a white community, or is it a little bit of mix of everybody?
It was definitely a mix.
Okay.
So I was kind of confused, but also I grew up kind of darker skinned than I am now, and I think that had to do with being in cheer a lot, and I was always in the the stands and cheer, and the sun's hitting me.
Got it.
But I've had my my uncles from my dad's side call me the word.
Morena?
No, you would think it would be a Mexican word. No, it was...
the N-word.
Yeah,
Oh.
They would call me that growing up because I was just dark, and I didn't really understand that.
So that's when the trauma began.
Yeah, I think that's when I was oh, I'm growing up and I'm this brown girl, and I'm looking around. And yes, there are other Mexican kids that I grew up with, of course, and but I just felt because I was so hairy and my hair was black and I just looked a little bit different, and so I just always wanted to just be this, not that. Yeah. And it sucks because I didn't, like I said, right, I didn't have the culture growing up, so I didn't know anything about it. It was kind of Like now that I'm older, right? I'm like, oh my God, poor little me. Like, what the heck was happening?
And what would you tell your younger self now?
Well, just like, don't allow, I don't know, I'm like getting like weirdly emotional about it, and it's like not.
Take up space. This is a safe space.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I'm getting emotion in a way where I can't explain it. Like the tears are not coming out because I feel like I've grown and I'm like strong enough to do that. Which I'm not saying tears are bad. I cry all the time. But I think within that like subject, I'm just like, I wish I could have the words to explain to little me that there's nothing wrong with me, and you're gonna love your skin color when you get older. Like, cause I do. I like love being this, I don't know, brown girl now. And I remember just hating that so much. And now I get to embrace that, and I love it. I love being able to say that I am a Latina. And another thing is I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, or like no one really taught me that.
Yeah.
I
relate to that a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I just think that my mom being an immigrant and her working in corporate, her kind of whole experience was like Spanish is bad, accents are bad.
Oh my God.
So it was one of those things where it was like, it wasn't something that she prioritized. And like now, fast forward to 2024, it's something that people praise you for, right? So I think we both have that like similar experience. And how did you overcome that?
Well, I still don't know Spanish, but I've picked up on, I picked up a lot when I was like growing up, because my parents did have me with like a Spanish speaking babysitter, so we would communicate that way. So she would speak in Spanish, I would speak in English, and we just were like, okay, if she's saying this word, showing me like this item, okay, I figure that's what that is, you know?
Yeah. That was like me and my abuelos. Like
really?
I would speak to them in English and they would respond in Spanish, and I would completely understand.
Yeah.
But when it came to like my tios or my tias or my primos, like we all spoke English.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
So it's a very interesting experience living as a Latino American, you know, or being a no sabo.
Yeah, that's what they call us, right? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did they ever like get mad at you for that too, or like?
Honestly, no. I think my grandparents probably felt it more than anybody, but as a collective, as like a family, like we just, it was just kind of normalized. But the culture was there, the food was there, the music was there, so I never felt like I wasn't not Mexican enough, you know? And like, I just want to give you your flowers right here, right now, that like, you are Latina enough, you know? I think I saw like an interviewer with Jenna Ortega who told her that, and I think that's so powerful, and I think we don't say that enough to each other, because yes, you are brown, and you are beautiful, and you are Latina, and just because you don't speak the language doesn't mean that you're not enough.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Oh my God, we really relate on so many things.
Yeah.
I love that.
So to give you your flowers, we have your physical flowers here,
gosh.
roses.
Thank you so much.
I would love to know, what's your connection to flowers, roses?
Oh my God, that's so funny you asked that. My maiden last name is Rosas. And I always just thought that was like so beautiful, and my dad, thank you, and my dad like has like a tattoo of like a rose, you know, and it has like my mom's name on it, and my mom got like a big old tattoo of a rose as well. Like it's like our family, and it's like really, really special, and I just thought that was like so pretty that it's like nice, like when I do like my government name, it's like Sabrina, so it's like Sabrina Rosas, you know, it's like pretty. And now that I'm married, like I made it my middle name because my parents didn't give me a middle name.
Oh, like
everyone, yeah, all of my siblings have middle names except for me, so I gave myself one when I got married.
That's so cute.
It's Rosas now.
and I love that you did that, because it's like maybe it was always meant to be that way.
Yeah,
in a way.
It's so pretty, right? Thank you. Thank you so
welcome.
much. These are really freaking pretty. Like they're bright.
Yeah, and it's women-owned, of course, by my really good friend Isabel Gray. So shout out Isabel. So you are here today to talk about your story, and like I mentioned briefly, telling your story is a very vulnerable experience, right? And I think the environment or the work industry that you are in now, which is the drag industry, I'd love to know how that even came to be.
Yeah.
So how did you discover drag, and then how did you become a drag queen?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I discovered drag super randomly. I hope someone can quote this or fact check this, but I remember seeing a commercial of these two drag queens, and I want to say they were Raven and Manila Luzon. I want to say it was them. They were in these like little bikini polka dot type of vibe, like pin-up, like 50s, that like retro, right? Type of style. And they were like on a beach. And I just remember seeing Raven and being like, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful person. Like I didn't really know, right? I was just like, this is the most beautiful person ever. I need to find out what this is. I need to find out everything about them. And I fell down like a rabbit hole, found RuPaul's Drag Race season 4. I think it was like in 2012, I want to say, or 2011. And then I just like kind of left it at that because I was like, oh, like it's so different. Like it's not, it was like on Logo TV back then. I think you had to have like a subscription or some sort of, I don't know. It wasn't like on regular television. So kind of just like left it at that. I was on a dance team, like a competitive dance team. And unfortunately, we're slowly starting to like, kind of go separate ways, creative differences within the team. And I was finally of age to like go out where my parents would be like, okay, fine, you can go out to this. I had to still ask, growing up like everywhere how to go. But
growing up with Latino parents,
yes. You know the vibes.
Exactly.
And so I was going to these shows, and I think I was like going to like Hamburger Mary's, like it was Hollywood, but I didn't know like what Hamburger Mary's was. I was just like, oh, I'm going to this place that's gonna show drag,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I like dipped my toes in it. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And it obviously caught my attention because they're lip syncing. They have beautiful clothing on, the makeup, right? I love makeup. I don't know if you can tell.
No, I couldn't tell.
But so that's kind of that's how I got like introduced to drag. But then how I became a drag queen was in 2017, Alaska. Can I cuss?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, Alaska Thunderfuck 5000. She had a competition called Night of 5,000 Alaskas in downtown, and I was like, oh my god, this looks so fun. I'm a fan of her. Like, I want to do it. And I obviously no experience other than like dancing and performing, right? Like cheer,
which you have experience in.
Yes. Since I was like 8 or so. And so I was like, okay, I have that, and I'm gonna do this competition. And I made my hip pads out of loofahs and pillowcases. I looked it up on YouTube, how to do it, and I think her name was Angel Vanity. Shout out to you, because you made my body look so good. And I hit up my friend to like help me with the wig, and I just wanted to perform. I had missed performing since my team had broken up. At that point, it had been a few years, I think, since I hadn't been on a stage at all. And I was like, I'm just gonna do this competition. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And I ended up winning the crowd favorite award.
That's incredible.
That night. And I think, I don't want to like say anything incorrect, but I'm pretty sure that they created that award for me because I took a photo of like the lineup and like how everyone's supposed to perform, and then the awards they were supposed to give out at the end. That award wasn't like on the list. So I was like, I think they like made that for me because I don't know, maybe the crowd was really cool and loud for me. I don't know, but either way, that night after I won, I was like, I can't stop. Like, this felt amazing.
You got the bug.
Yeah, it felt really good to be back on stage. And I was like, whoa, I'm doing drag. But it was as someone else. I was being Alaska. That was like the point, the Night of 5,000 Alaskas.
Got it.
So I was like, okay, that felt great. And then, I don't know, it didn't really happen after that. So that was like in 2017. And
the seed was planted.
Yes. Yeah, very much. And she was just trying to find a way to grow. And I don't know, I guess because also primarily like drag queens, at least when I was coming up like that, starting, there was always just male drag queens. There was
if I'm being completely honest, you are the only one that I'm aware of. Because not that I'm not a supporter of drag, I love my drag queens, but it's just not like the television or the community that I watch. My team loves drag, so they educate me more than anything. But yeah, when Brenda told me about your story, I was like, oh, I didn't even know women do it. Yeah. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, it just felt weird. So not weird like because
it was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you'd never been done before or seen before or something
At least
like that?
I mean, I feel like I have seen female drag queens, but they weren't like performing like at the like on a stage like that. They were more like for like on Instagram or like the socials, like photo shoots type of drag queens.
And drag queen is like encompassing the hyper femininity, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Everything is created twice, once in the mind and once in the material world. I'm a certified dream builder. I made it my mission to share the beautiful work that Mary Morrissey did with the Brave Thinking Institute. I believe in sharing that knowledge will heal our world one dream at a time.
The most important thing in this world is imagination. It's so important to be connected to your vision. That vision is key to get new results.
I'm going to be 77. What I got out of Saturday was an opportunity to identify who I am and what I need. And it was priceless. I still feel that there's lots to learn, lots to do.
Wow. Let's do it.
Yes.
I'm really excited about hearing about your dreams and seeing you transform.
If you could just maybe kind of give some education to people who like don't really know anything about drag queens or any, like I think you're not here to like give us the history of it, but you know, if you could just kind of give us like a quick 101 about drag queens.
I mean, drag is art, like how they say is art is subjective, right? Like that's exactly what it is, because now you have drag queens and drag kings. There's kings and there's women who do drag king. So yeah, like there's this drag king named Lyndon Sider, super amazing, love them. They're a lesbian as well. They grew up in Long Beach, and they do drag. But they're a drag king, and it's just there's no like gender to it, I think, and that's what I didn't understand myself. Even having done that already, the first little competition. Right. Sorry, not little. I'm not trying to diminish it like that. Sorry, the competition.
You're like, I'm doing a lot bigger things.
No. I just mean I didn't want it to call it little. Like, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, like, so that what timeline am I on? So yeah, I just finished that, right? And so that was 2017, and then
it's kind of funny that you say that, because that Halloween I actually dressed up as a dude.
What?
Yeah, we'll have to plug in the photo. Like I guess I did drag. I didn't even know I was doing drag. Like I literally just dressed up as a dude because like I had no costume. My friend was like a beautiful mermaid. It was like green, and I literally just went into my brother's closet. I got like a shirt, got the hat, did the whole beard. Like I'll have to show you at the end of the episode. But yeah, I guess I did drag. It was so much fun.
Oh my god. Yeah, see, you're a drag king.
I was a drag king for the night.
Oh my god. Wait, no, I have to see those pictures after for sure.
Getting back into our topic. Okay, so why don't we talk about being a woman of color in the workforce, right? So like predominantly your coworkers are still male, like it's still a male-dominated industry, even though there are, you know, females that are doing drag. Like what has that experience been like for you?
I mean, I will say that I am really grateful that I have not experienced any actual like hate within like my community while doing drag or any workplace. Just maybe like maybe insensitivity, is that the word?
Insensitivity.
Yeah, maybe that. But I feel like it's not being intentional though, because they're not used to that. They're not used to having a woman be backstage and, oh, this one is in the corner over there because she's having cramps. Like, they're not gonna understand that, you know? They're like having fun and talking backstage about like the person they just hooked up with, which is always so fun to hear, trust me.
Yes, the way
they tell the stories is really fun. But, you know, sometimes some of the things that maybe like I speak of or talk about or bring up is kind of like, oh, and like brush off type of vibe.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think they mean to do that. They just can't relate to it.
It's true.
You know?
And to kind of touch on like, you know, the cramps that you experience of being like, you know, a natural born woman, you also shared with me that you suffer from PMDD. And for everyone listening, what does PMDD stand for?
It's a premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And that happens, I believe, I'm no doctor, but my body, like 2 weeks before my cycle begins, I get like all of the symptoms and then some of what you would experience like during your cycle. So the terrible cramps and back aches, tendered breast. I get super irritable, like everything just bothers me. I like snap, and it sucks because I know that's not me, and I like can't even control it. And I realize it like after it happens, but I'm too in where I can't even like fix it.
Well, it's your hormones, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just something that like you want to fix, you want to control, but if your hormones are kind of reacting before your brain even has a second to like really like take in the situation.
Yeah.
So like when you are going through these moments of pain, are you on call? Like, are you working, or do you take that time to not work? Because like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, most of the time, I am working most of the time because since
Gotta pay them bills.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I will not call out. I will go suffer on the stage, and you know, I will not call out. But and especially that because right, I don't want to be like, oh, she called out because of cramps. Right. You know, because you know, men just think it's just cramps. Take a pill, take Advil. You know, and it's like, oh, baby, I wish I could just pop a pill and everything will be fine. Because on top of like all of the pain symptoms I mentioned, but it's also like it really messes with me mentally, and it's really depressing, and I get really trigger warning, I guess. I'm sorry, but like suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's
suicidal ideation.
Yeah. Well, I guess because I'm trying to not feel this way, but the pain is so bad that I'd much rather just end it, type of vibe.
No, and I think we need to like destigmatize these conversations around mental health, you know, and this is again a safe space. Majority of our listeners are women. I mean, we want anyone to listen, but I think there is something to be said about the conversations that we have around mental health, you know, and speaking openly about it, that like when you do go through those depressive episodes, like I think it's more common than not that like people do have thoughts like that, right? Especially when you're going through physical pain. So just like, I want to give you like your kudos, like it's totally normal, especially like in my setting and in my life, like, you know, going through stress, going through transitional things in your life, like it totally affects you. And like sometimes if you don't have like a good support system, or you don't have, you know, certain medicines or holistic ways of healing yourself, like it could get really dark.
For sure.
You know, and I would just like to know, like, how do you navigate your mental health?
My wife is really amazing. She really does go through this with me a lot. And I always feel super terrible because I feel like she gets like the shit end of the stick for me. And she knows that. And she's still there, and she doesn't like punish me for it or make me feel bad about it. And I really don't know what I would do without her, because she not only like mentally like reassures me about things and makes sure that I'm okay, because I do stay at home, you know, she goes to work. And we text all the time. There's never a time we're not texting, and she'll just make sure that I'm mentally okay as well. And luckily she only works like 5 minutes away, so she'll walk, and sometimes she'll even like come and like check like physically if I'm okay, and she'll see me like in fetal position in a blanket, you know, in pain, crying, and
I'm getting emotional.
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's really beautiful. And like, it just made me think like, you know, like only a woman would understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
And it's like, not to say like men can't be as emotional as women, but like she gets it. She gets it more than like a male partner would ever get it.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I think what you guys have is beautiful. And I think that she loves you, and she knows that if you could be not this way, that you would be, you know? But I think that's a testament to love, and that's a testament to partnership, because sometimes, well, we fall in love with the people that, you know, we can't help to fall in love with. And I think that obviously what you guys have is special. You're married, right?
Yes.
Why don't we talk about that? Like, what has marriage been like?
Amazing.
Let's talk about happy stuff now.
Amazing. Like, me and her always talk about how, like, when we watch like TV shows or like reality shows, how people are like, marriage is hard. Get ready, and we're like, huh? Like, where's the hard part? We really like don't know what the hard part is, and if the hard part is just like swallowing a bit of your pride, if like you said something wrong or in a different tone, which is something that we both clock within each other. We're like, oh, what was the tone? And it's like, we didn't mean to, but like, that's us being able to like acknowledge it, talk about it, like see who was affected, and then move on from it. You know, but like she would say, like, she was never like that type of person. So I guess that's the hard part, but that's not hard. I feel like, honestly, we haven't been through anything where it's like, oh, okay, this is a rough patch. What are we gonna do? Like,
communication.
Yes,
it really just comes down to that, right?
Yes, communication, and that's fortunately what a lot of people struggle with.
Right.
Yeah, confrontation. I know, like, my parents hate confrontation. Like, especially my mom. She'll walk away. I'm like, bye. Okay, you know. And my wife we'll talk about it. And again, there's not even a lot of like that confrontation or like hostileness, like nothing. She's my best friend. Like, we always laugh, and we can literally just be sitting on the couch and we're just like talking. We're just like conversing about like random shit, and it's so funny. Like, I've never been able to just like with like my partner, like been able to just sit down and just talk, and with like no TV on, no phone in our hand. Like, it's super, my lashes are like wet. It's just super like fun. I don't know, marriage is fun. And I always just want to be with her.
That gives me a lot of hope.
I promise. Like, you just have to find that person. And this is like my twin flame. And I didn't even know what a twin flame was until someone came up to us. We were walking like on Venice, like the Venice boardwalk one day, just talking, just being ourselves.
Having fun.
Yeah, just holding hands, being real gay and shit. And this guy, I just feel like we feel like this person behind us and talking. And we're like, oh my God, there's like someone right here, and they're like taking photos. And I'm like, hi. She's like, hi, I'm so sorry. She's like, I just have been watching you guys. I know it sounds weird, but she's like, I just been watching you guys, and you guys are just so cute and in love. Your guys' love is like a twin flame. And we're like, what is that? And she's like, she explained it to us. She worded it better. If you guys know what a twin flame is, it's very beautiful. But she explained it to us in a beautiful way, and we were like, whoa, we've never heard of them. Like, that's literally us. And like, she took more photos of us, and we were like, wow, we are twin flames. Like, this random person was following us, but she felt so connected to us to tell us about our love super randomly. And that's happened a few times. Another time, this guy was taking Polaroids like randomly of like people out in West Hollywood, and he like stopped us and was like, wait, I need to capture your guys' love, like please. And I was like, okay.
So talking about your partner, why don't we talk about, because you said you grew up with like strict parents, growing up in Montebello, and that like kind of whole upbringing. So what was your coming out story? You'd mentioned in the talent forum that it was a non-traditional way. What is the traditional way and what's a non-traditional way?
I guess the traditional way for me is like when you sit your parent down and you're like, Mom, Dad, I have something to tell you type of thing.
I see.
That's like traditional to me, which I feel like we just shouldn't have to do any of that.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Right. But my version was that I was competing in a pageant, my first ever drag pageant. That's how I became Sabbyiana. My debut, I brought my then girlfriend, my wife, Jess. I brought her to meet my whole entire family, like in the lobby after the pageant. It was like my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sister, her boyfriend, my cousins, and my dad's 3 sisters, like her, like everybody. And I brought her, I was like, Mom, this is Jess. This is someone really special to me. And I just threw her to the wolves and had her meet every person. She said she blacked out. And I'm like, I'm sure. but that's how like I introduced, and that's kind of like how I came. That was me coming out to them.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, super random at a drag pageant.
Yeah.
Their first time seeing their kid up on a stage doing drag like that. And I was like, for my talent, like I was on a sex swing. Like it was it was non-traditional.
Your parents learned a lot about
You know?
and honestly in the most authentic and best way.
Yeah.
And I think your story is really inspiring because I think when people hear this, they'll take off the pressure of like having to do it, like you said, the traditional way of like having to sit them down. Now that you say traditional, I'm like, okay, now that makes sense.
Right?
But it's really authentic because it's just like, this is who I am. And my parents love me, and if they really love me, they're gonna accept me, right? And
definitely.
I think
they've come a long way, I will say.
Yeah,
It's not. They've come a long way.
Yeah. And I think like it's the unlearning, the reprogramming, right? I think for like a lot of parents that have LGBT children, it's a transition, right? Because their generation and how they grew up, like it was seen as like a negative thing, and it's like absolutely not. So like, is there anything that you want to speak on that? Of just like, if there's anyone listening, maybe like somebody younger or somebody that is maybe well into their adolescence that is trying to navigate this way of like how to just be themselves.
Yeah, and it's so funny because, not funny, but one of my tias growing up would tell my mom, like, she's gonna be a lesbian, watch, she's gonna be a lesbian. And I'm like, no, not, like all like high pitched and stuff, you know? I'm like, no. And then my mom would be like, well, so what, right? Like, so what if you are? Like, that was like, I think her way of trying to like make me tell her, and I would still deny it. And that tia was right. Damn, she clocked me. I didn't even know I was gay though, you know? That was another thing too, is like, it's so hard to like tell people like how to like navigate and be this when I didn't even know I was a lesbian. I was always like trying to fight that. Like I was always like, no, these thoughts are not, and not that it was wrong, but I was just like, no, I'm supposed to like get married to a man and have babies, right? And I don't want no kids. Like my wife and I, we have 0. We want none. We're good, you know? And it's so different from that. Like I wanted that before, and I think I was just programmed that way maybe. And once my wife and I were like dating and stuff for a while, my grams was calling him. She kept saying like, oh, where's he? Oh, and her name's Jess. Where's Jessie? I'm like, Jessie? Like, she was programmed, like she didn't need to, like I don't think so. Like she's like 80 something. Like I doubt like she was really trying to like be malicious. But it was like something that just wasn't programmed for her either. And I was like, what? She, her, Jess.
Yeah.
Girlfriend.
Let's touch on that. You know, pronouns. Obviously you guys are just girls, just lesbians, but when we talk about, you know, the people within the community, like our trans sisters, where's your head at with that? Because I have somebody close to me, my sister's best friend. He is now a she, you know, and that was a tough thing to navigate ourselves of just like the relearning. And I think if people can just kind of, maybe you can have more to add to this, but like, I think that's just what it is. Like you're just relearning somebody. Like they used to be this way and now they're this way. And like, there's no malicious intent or you're not trying to be like using the wrong pronoun. But I think there does need to be a little bit of room for people to navigate that transition as well, right?
Yeah.
What do you kind of think about that?
I mean, I know I totally agree that it's just like it's like a relearning experience. I honestly I feel like I didn't have any like trouble trying to do that. My really good friend Calypso, she's a trans woman. She was also in my wedding. I knew her before she had transitioned, and I was very obviously respectful. And I was like, do I call you the other name, or do you want me to just call you Calypso? Do you have a different name? Because you know they go and change their name to something else as well. And she was just like, you can still call me by the old name. I was like, no, if you're gonna be a woman, I'm not gonna call you that name. Like, so I think everyone just takes it, you know, all differently. But I was lucky enough to have a friend that was just really open and didn't take anything super like personal. Like she obviously realized like, oh, you're still learning? Sure, you can call me by that name if you need to.
My friend is that way too, and I give her so much grace for allowing that. And I wish more people within the trans community per se would kind of just like allow that time. Like it truly like they said, like time heals all wounds. Like I think it really just, you know, takes time. So actually one of our first guests for the podcast was a trans woman. Shout out to Jocelyn Glenn. She's a producer, filmmaker, and we were so happy to have her on the podcast because as much as like I want to advocate for women, I want all women to know that they are part of the MíraLA community, and that includes our trans sisters.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, wow, we've touched on so much. Super beautiful. It got emotional. It got vulnerable. But that's women, right?
Yes.
That's who we are.
No, I felt super safe to share that stuff with you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And Sabbyiana, so everyone that has listened to you and your beautiful story, where can they come support you? And how did Sabbyiana, the name, how did it come to be?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, everything on social media is just at Sabbyiana, and so do as you will. I always post my shows like on my highlights and stuff that literally just says like next show, so you can always click that. But yeah, my name, it's not like the best story, I'm sorry, but so Sabby is my name. I go by Sabby. And in the drag community, I've had these like little group chats of friends that also love drag, but from different parts of the world, like Scotland, Texas, you name it, like just random, Boston. And my friend John, I think he's from Texas. We've never met in real life. We've only done like Twitter, and because of drag. And randomly he would just call me Sabbyiana. And I was like, what? And exactly how I spell it. Sabbyiana. And I was like, that is so cute. I never corrected him. I never said anything, right? One day I was just like, okay, John, why do you call me Sabbyiana? I think it's really cute, but like, what does it mean? And he was like, oh, it's just your name and Arianna, like Ariana Grande combined. I just like associate you with her. You remind me of her. And I was like, oh my God, that is an honor. Like that's one of my queens. Like her and Brittany are like my everything. Like I was like, she's really heavily inspired in my drag as well. And I'm honored. That's a beautiful name. Just left it at that. And then once I submitted myself for the Drag Queen of the Year pageant, I was like, if I make this pageant, if I get into the cast of top 8, I'm going to change my name to Sabbyiana. Because I had a different name. It was Harley Barbie Rose.
It's a long one.
It's like, we get it. You're a drag queen. We get it. 3 names. You know.
Sabbyiana is so cute, and I love that it kind of came from one of your fans.
Yeah. Well, like, no, he's like my friend. Yeah. No, he's like my friend. Like, he knew me before. He just says Sabby, like Sabby Barbie, like on Twitter. Like, he gave me that name, and I always will give him credit because I love the name. It's such a cool name.
It's so cool. It's so cute.
Thank you.
Make sure everyone in the MíraLA community checks out our girl, Sabbyiana.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the MíraLA Podcast. If you are a woman and would like to be on the show, go to MíraLaPodcast.com. Follow us on socials at MíraLA Podcast. Use hashtag MíraLA Mondays. And if you want to support the show, subscribe, share with your amigos, and tune in for new episodes every Monday. Muchas gracias.